On today's show, Kevin Durant and LeBron James lead Team USA to the win against Nikola Jokic and Serbia in the first game of group play action here in the Olympics. How the USA got their win. Joel Embiid struggles in the starting center spot. Jayson Tatum benched, and so much more. It's all coming up on today's Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer that it gets to first pitch. They've got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Look, I don't know about you. My least favorite thing when I'm buying tickets could be to go to a baseball game, basketball game, a concert, whatever, right? Is you're going through the ticket buying process, you're all excited, you're picking out your seats and everything. Then you go to check out, and you get price gouged at the very end. They start hitting you with the service fees and digital handling fees and convenience fees, and you end up paying more in fees than you do for the actual tickets. It's not like that with Game Time. They have their all-in price from the jump, so you know exactly how much you're paying for your tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying your tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Joining us now is the host of Locked On Nuggets, Swipa Cam, who you can track down wherever you listen to your podcast or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Nuggets. Here to break down Team USA's win against Serbia, 110-84. Behind 23 points from Kevin Durant in his return to the lineup. We're going to get kind of both sides of what happened here in this game. Obviously, we've got some representation over here. Going to probably get some talking points defending Nikola Jokic from this game. We'll see how we break it down and how this all happens. But Cam, let's start with, first off, a really dominant display from Team USA right out of the gate as group play got underway here in the Olympics, especially coming off the heels of a couple really disappointing games in the friendlies for Team USA. You could make the argument that they were, I don't want to say mentally checked out, but obviously it's friendlies. Maybe you're not taking it as seriously, that kind of thing. But a really great first impression here from Team USA came out. They looked maybe a little shaky early in the game and then kind of settled into things. And the second half was just the defensive display in the second half was otherworldly.
Yeah, I mean, USA has a talent advantage, and similar to when you see one of these SEC teams play versus the FCS team or a lower tier D1 football team, maybe the first quarter, second quarter is going to be a little bit of a game, but the depth is going to win out. Like when you're bringing Anthony Edwards and Kevin Durant and Anthony Davis and, apparently not Jayson Tatum and them today off the bench, that's going to be quite the force they have to overcome, because Serbia, their best bet is when Jokic is on the court with all the starters. And so with Jokic not on the court, it's just blowout. Like, there's no advantage Serbia has. They're not a better shooting team. They're not a better driving team. They're not the more athletic team. They're not the better defending team. So Team USA has all the advantages, all the athletes, and they're young and spry. And then LeBron, he looks like he's at the top of his 39-year-old powers going into year 22, and then Kevin Durant comes off the bench and doesn't miss anything, doesn't miss a beat from being the great Olympian that he is. And then you have excellent defensive performances from Bam Adebayo and Anthony Davis especially, and then Drew Holiday and Derek White. So the team is loaded. They have all the pieces, and they just look like a team that's a class above Serbia so far this tournament.
Look, the more things are different, the more they actually stay the same. You talk about Jokic and Serbia kind of going up, a bit blow for blow with Team USA throughout the first half, right? They went on some runs and, actually answered. I thought there was a point where Serbia was down, I want to say 10, midway through the second quarter, went on a nice little run to kind of try and close things out. And then Team USA kind of wrestling some of that momentum back with a few last second buckets, including one just incredible turnaround. You kind of know it's one of those things with Team USA. You look at, especially when you get a moment with, a few seconds left on the clock, sideline out of bounds, whatever, you just know they're going to draw something up and something incredible is going to happen with one of the insanely talented individuals they have on the court. And in this one, got the inbound, a pass goes down to KD. He immediately turns around, hits a fadeaway over the top. Nothing you could do about it, right? To cap off his 21-point first half. Didn't even have to score a single bucket in the second half. That's how good he was in the first half. But when you start to look at kind of some of the long-term ramifications of this game and what it means for Team USA, first off, I do want to highlight on the Serbia side of things for the Nuggets, Serbia actually played Team USA like point for point while Jokic was on the floor, and then they were outscored by 26 points the moment Jokic hits the bench. I know this is a tale as old as time for Locked On Nuggets listeners.
Yeah, I think this is the thing, and I asked this question immediately during the game and after. Jokic has never played next to superstar level talent before. Like, he's never had that. I do wonder if he will ever have that, because Jokic on the course is just like this seminal force, and you saw the Team USA having to corral around him as much as possible in the post, at the nail, all the action at the top of the key, constantly having to get around screens, constantly having to get under screens, constantly having to double team off that little move that he does inside, constantly having to worry about backside passes and all that. He has so much control of the game, and even defensively in the first half, he was playing very well. But again, if he's not doing it, there's just nobody else for Bogey that's going to help him, and they just don't have enough horsepower to make it a real matchup. So yeah, they were even when Joker was on the court today. They were even winning the minutes in the first half when Joker was on the court. But even Jokic, it's just not enough for them to be able to overcome that consistently. Maybe down the line they see each other again, it could be a different story. But yeah, I mean, again, Serbia, they just don't have a lot of NBA talent on the roster. And really, there's only two players I can definitively say that I would want in my rotation of the Serbia team.
Is there a real chance, you think, here in the group play? Because it's just for a quick refresher for anybody who's unfamiliar, as we're navigating here through the group play stage, the top two teams that finish with the most points in group play advance to the quarterfinals. Do you think there's a real risk here or a chance that Serbia, doesn't advance to the next round, or do you think they're going to have it in the bag?
It really just depends. Like, it's going to come down to how they're going to be able to perform versus the rest of the people in the group. France and Puerto Rico, I believe. And so some of this is going to come down to how
South Sudan and Puerto Rico.
South Sudan, Puerto Rico. That's right. How they respond. Even South Sudan, like, that's the other part about this, and that's the point I want to bring up. They have the reason why they match up well, quote unquote, with USA, is because they have the athletes on the roster to be able to run in transition and to defend in the half court. And again, I know a lot of people might not understand the value of that, but Serbia was struggling so badly today in transition. They were fouling constantly as soon as USA got out in the run. They just don't have the foot speed and the verticality to keep up. So I think the South Sudan is going to have a real hard time getting past Serbia and the USA. But the thing is, they're still talented enough to push. So if you get them in a fourth quarter situation, they get hot from three. Serbia, yeah, of course, you could absolutely go home. Even Puerto Rico with Jose Alvarado, like, these are good players. These are good teams. And again, can you capitalize on the stuff that you need to get done with? Now, Serbia, I do believe, is going to make it out of this group stage and move it into the knockout round. But look, the talent in the world is just immense right now.
It is. This has never been a better time to be a basketball fan when you watch these other countries and just see how good it is. And I want to give a quick little special shout out to the head coach of the South Sudan team, Houston Rockets assistant coach Royal Ivy, who's doing a great job coaching that squad over there. Again, they had that really fantastic performance against Team USA recently in the friendly competitions, which again garnered a lot of social media attention, deservedly so, for a really impressive game there. Go back here to a couple of the storylines following Team USA. Obviously, Kevin Durant, first action back. Looks like he doesn't miss a beat, right? How long do we think before KD's back in the starting lineup? And that's that's like a big issue for Steve Kerr, right? What happened? Is this team better off with KD being that instant offense off the bench? I'd almost argue they're better constructed this way.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't know if they're going to be able to go small like that consistently with Booker and Drew. But look, Steph Curry, Drew Holiday, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Embiid, maybe Anthony Davis. I think that's going to be the most formidable lineup that they can play with the starting unit. So I do expect him to be inserted into the starting lineup because, look, you can never have enough off-ball scoring, and he literally is the best at it. And he's so big that he shoots over anybody on the court. And again, even in transition, he's just such a weapon to have, either, kind of leaking out to the corners or even getting to the rim and finishing. And then defensively, he's a long, rangy athlete that really helps them. So I do think he is going to start at some point, but we'll see when they feel like they're pushed to that point.
You know, it's one of those things where it was so, it's just continuously on display with Team USA. You talked about the talent gap earlier from Team USA to any other team in the Olympics currently. And you see that even on, on a given, possession by possession basis, where you see just how much attention has to be committed to a guy like KD when he goes to, post up or face up at the elbow, that kind of thing, or Steph Curry setting screens off ball. There was that one play where LeBron was at the top of the key. Steph Curry goes to set a screen on one side, and I want to say it was Drew Holiday maybe that cut down towards the rim. Maybe I'm getting that mixed up.
It was that little down screen that they were going to run for Drew and then for Steph, but Steph has the gravity, and LeBron obviously is just the next level passer, and then Drew's just wide open, nobody standing next to him.
Exactly. And you start to see that on a possession by possession basis for Team USA, where I do wonder and kind of worry if against certain teams, certain matchups, they might fall into kind of the trap that is there that you can fall into when you have a team as talented, where there's so many individuals that can, any one guy can take over a game for Team USA, right? Any one of them are capable of doing that. But does it wind up to come back and kind of bite you in the butt if you're focused too much on maybe like the isolation play or something like that? I think the best version is what we saw today, which is their gravity opening things up for their teammates ultimately.
The only players today that I really noticed that were like stopping the ball movement was Anthony Edwards and Joel Embiid. So I think for me, like, I don't think that's an indictment either. I just think that's just a level of play style. I don't think that they're all that used to playing next to that many good players, but also a system that's movement based like that. And Ant was the one, and Embiid were the one that were kind of leading that isolation game. But even for Embiid, I think, eventually, I don't think he's going to get phased all the way out, but AD obviously is showing, I think he just has a little bit more value at this level.
Yeah, I mean, look, Joel Embiid, that's the next thing I wanted to talk about it's a bit kind of like the elephant in the room, right? Struggled, through the friendly games, kind of found a rhythm last couple of games a little bit there, and then a really disappointing showing here in the first game of group play. Only 4 points, 2 of 5 shooting, played 11 minutes. He was the only starter that was, that had a negative plus minus of the dominant starting lineup that Team USA trotted out there. I mean, at some point, does Steve Kerr just stick with Embiid in the starting lineup? Does he make a shift and go to Anthony Davis, as a starter, or does he stay fully committed to Joel Embiid? Because I feel like you just get so much more lineup versatility, flexibility, and you can just do more things with AD in there instead of Embiid.
I mean, do you take the MVP and the scoring champ out of the starting lineup for USA basketball? I don't know. That's the politics side of it. Do you actually have the freedom of movement to be able to make that kind of decision? And how does Embiid feel about that, given that obviously he chose not to play for, a couple other countries in order to come play for the US? So, I mean, we'll see. But honestly, it's not a huge deal. Like, he starts the first half, he starts the second half, he doesn't close. I mean, it just could be that simple that he only plays 11 minutes. AD and Bam, they offer me more versatility. I don't need more isolation scoring. LeBron, Durant, Steph, and these other players, they can carry us offensively. So I think Embiid might stay in the starting lineup. I think he has better games than he does today. But again, the problem is, like, he was guarding Joker, and Joker, I mean, respectfully, was just kind of having his way with him for a lot of this game. But I think a lot of that is just going to be like having to worry about so much happening off ball. But again, Embiid still got block shots at the rim, and Embiid existing at the rim also deterred Serbia from going inside consistently. So he still offered value. It just wasn't what you're used to at the NBA level.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where how much do you want to take away from a matchup with Jokic, who is one of, if not maybe the only player on the planet who gives Embiid the level of trouble that we kind of saw in this game. And then, he rolls out next game, against South Sudan or whoever, and he just completely dominates. And then this discussion is just dead in the water. We're like, okay, obviously keeping Embiid in there is a bit of a better move with the other starters. Now, the other guy, a couple guys who didn't see any playing time in this game, mentioned it earlier, but Jayson Tatum benched and Tyrese Halliburton. So 2 guys racking some DNPs for Team USA. At this point, I kind of, and Steve Kerr after the game, right, kind of clowned on himself a little bit, saying I'm an idiot for not playing Jayson Tatum, but with KD coming back and the minutes restrictions and all this, at the end of the day, guys are going to get squeezed. You're not going to be able to play. Kerr even said it himself. It's really hard to play more than 10 guys when you're playing 10-minute quarters, and you just don't have that much runway to get these other guys in. I think it's very obvious. Tatum is lower on the depth chart than guys like LeBron, KD, but when we start looking at the Team USA roster, I mean, who do we think is going to wind up racking up the most DNPs of everybody?
Oh, it's going to be Tyrese Halliburton. Just because Devin Booker is such a good off-ball scorer, like the threes he was hitting today, you have to have him in the lineup. Drew Holiday, Derek White, and again, people like were so down on Drew Holiday being on this team. He is such a terrific connective piece, such an amazing defender. He does everything at a really high level, and so is Derek White. So you need guards that are bullies. Derek White was a bully in the post today. Like, he got a steal in the post. Like, these are players that have to play. Anthony Edwards is going to have to play for scoring and athleticism, and he's also another great second, really tertiary defender, the POA defender. Bam Adebayo, Anthony Davis, the bigs have to play. KD, LeBron, they have to play. So I think Tyrese Halliburton gets squeezed out because they already kind of have a playmaking scoring guard that's not much of a defender, and that's Steph Curry. And then obviously he offers even more gravity than Steph because he's Steph, and then Jayson Tatum, unfortunately, just the way he's kind of shaping out right now, even if he's a top 10 player in the league, does he do something better than Kevin Durant or LeBron that they need offensively or defensively?
Does he provide a unique skill set, right? Like, it's
right.
just not there, unfortunately, which sucks for Tatum, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to play. I think Steve Kerr saying, I'm an idiot for not getting in there. He said he talked to him before the game too. So, look, I think it depends. Celtics fans have an opinion of Tatum that is, I think, distinctively different than the general consensus on Tatum. I think Tatum, though, is an incredible jack of all trades. It's just, do they need a jack of all trades, or do they more so need specialists? That's kind of where they are right now, because the jack of all trades is LeBron, and you saw that today. He did everything: drive, transition, 3-pointers, pull up, playmaking, top of the key, defense, rebounding. So how many of those players do we actually need? And then Tatum, is he going to be playing off ball better than Booker or some of these other players? And then if we put him in, what about Bam? Like, because they like what they get from Bam. Bam is so physical. He's a even better defender than Tatum. He's learning to be a floor spacer for this team. Look, it's just going to be difficult. I think Tatum does play, but Tatum's going to be a host of, maybe 3 or 4 players that's just going to be getting rotated out depending on what the situation is.
I fully agree with that. I think it's unfortunate for Tyrese Halliburton that he's going to be the one guy, but it's almost like if you could make the argument, you're like, all right, well, Tyrese Halliburton's skill set, it's already, you've got the playmaking, the other combo guards, you've got better shooting, arguably better shooting in Steph Curry. So there's just nothing that he's bringing to the table that's explicitly unique compared to the other guys. I will say, I want to give a quick shout out, a quick aside here to D Wade on the call. I actually really enjoyed having Dwayne Wade on the mic, throughout this game. I will say the one note that I have is, and many others did too, the first time he dropped the line about, who LeBron James is, his pronouns, he, him, was incredible. It was right up there with some of Mark Jones's lines that he has during a game, but then he kind of bludgeoned it to death like multiple times throughout the rest of the game. Needs to find a new line, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, D Wade's a great personality. I hope he continues to get even better on the call, and maybe that's something he can look forward to doing in the future for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a fun, memorable game. What are the other games going to look like moving forward? You're going to have us covered for everything that Serbia is doing, absolutely, and Team USA coverage over at Locked On Nuggets. But Cam, thanks for stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here. Thanks, brother.